Morning, Sunshines. Week 4, day 5. Matchmaker is our reading passage for today, and it goes from page 405 to 414. All right, Matchmakers by Stephen Frazier. Matt Hoffman paid it forward by donating life-giving cells to a cancer patient. Matt Hoffman didn't recognize the voice with the Texas accent when he answered the phone last December, but the caller had something important to tell Hoffman. "I want to thank you for saving my life," the man said. A year earlier, Hoffman had answered a request to donate blood cells. Those cells represented the last hope for the Texas man in his battle with cancer. Now the man had joyous news to share. He was cancer-free. Perfect match. In 2008, Hoffman had joined the Be the Match Registry, which is run by the National Marrow Donor Program in Minneapolis. The NMDP helps patients with life-threatening diseases of the blood and the immune system. It supplies those patients with stem cells donated by people from around the world. Stem cells are immature cells that have the ability to mature into different kinds of adult cells. Hoffman, now 21, heard about the Be the Match program from his football team's coach during his sophomore year at Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. He filled out a form detailing his health history. When the form was approved, Hoffman was given a cheek swab. Cells were gently scraped from the inside of his cheek. The cells were then sent to a lab for a DNA analysis. The information from the analysis was entered into the Be the Match database, which contains the records of millions of participants. Last September, Hoffman was notified that his tissue type was a close match with that of a Warren Salich, 59, a road maintenance worker from Brenham, Texas. Salich had lymphoma, a form of cancer that affects part of the immune system called the lymphatic system. A lymphatic system is a network of channels throughout the body that fight infection. In people who have lymphoma, the system's cells become abnormal and form tumors. Source material. The stem cells used to treat diseases of the blood and the immune system typically come from two sources, says Sue Paprocki of Be the Match. In 24% of the cases, the source is bone marrow. Bone marrow is spongy tissue at the center of the bones that produces new blood cells, including immune cells. A needle is inserted into the donor's pelvic bone, and the marrow is extracted with a syringe. The donor's body replaces the depleted bone marrow within weeks. In the other 76% of cases, the stem cells are extracted from the donor's blood. That's the type of donation that Hoffman made. Before the procedure, Hoffman underwent a physical exam to make sure he was completely healthy. 5 days prior to donation day, he was given a drug to stimulate the formation of blood cells. He had to stop playing football because the medication temporarily enlarged his spleen, an oval organ located near the stomach that forms part of the lymphatic system and makes cells that combat infections. Playing football could have ruptured his enlarged spleen. On donation day, Hoffman received a final shot of the medication. Then a needle was inserted into his arm, and his blood was slowly moved and circulated through a machine that filtered out the stem cells. The blood was then returned to Hoffman's body through a needle in his other arm. The procedure lasted 6 hours. "It's only painful like any needle injection would be," said Hoffman. Afterward, he felt slightly lightheaded and a bit tired. Hoffman's stem cells were immediately packed in a cooler and flown to San Antonio Hospital. There, Salich had recently completed chemotherapy and radiation treatment to eliminate the abnormal lymph cells in his body. Hoffman's stem cells were injected into Salich, where they migrated into his bones and became new bone marrow. The bone marrow started making healthy, infection-fighting cells. Award ceremony. Hoffman's phone conversation with Salich in December, though slightly awkward at first, grew more relaxed when the talk turned to football. Salich was impressed not just by Hoffman's generosity, but also by the young man's willingness to forego his football team's important final game of the season. It renewed my faith in the youth of America, said Salich. Shortly after the phone conversation, the two men met face to face at an awards banquet in Salem, Virginia. Hoffman had invited Salich and his wife, Becky, and their son, Travis, 9, to sit with him. Hoffman was there as a nominee for the Gagliardi Trophy for Division III football. He had already been selected Defensive Player of the Year by the New Jersey Athletic Conference. In the end, Hoffman didn't win the Gagliardi Award, but meeting Salich was prize enough. The two men are just one pair of thousands of cellmates that NMDP has matched up. Roughly 10,000 people have serious diseases that could benefit from bone marrow or blood stem cells transplants. Holy cow, kids! Blood stem cell transplants each year. Stay in school. The need for donations is constant. It's a good way to pay it forward, helping to save a life, says Paprocki. Drainage system. Surrounding every human cell is a fluid that the bloodstream constantly feeds with oxygen and nutrients. The amount and quality of that fluid is regulated by a network of vessels, the lymphatic system, that threads its way through the body. Excess fluid drains into the lymphatic system and flows to dozens of lymph nodes, knots of tissue that filter out viruses, bacteria, and poisons. The filtration process is carried out by a thicket of fibers and by certain white blood cells, such as lymphocytes and phagocytes. And then, as you can see, you have a lovely little diagram of the veins, arteries in the human body. All right, that's all for the reading passage. Next is vocabulary.